You're listening to Female Founders with Claire Bartlett, the podcast that tells you what it is really like to be a female founder in today's world. We share invaluable insights through personal journeys and real-life business experiences, highlighting the highs and the lows so you can move forward in your business with ease. I am passionate to share with you the realities of business and give you the strategies and simple steps you need to truly succeed with your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. Managing your business finances can feel overwhelming, but Xero simplifies it all and gives you the power to keep your books in order and your mind on growth. Xero have offered an amazing 50% discount off your first 3 months with them to all our listeners. So if you'd like to take advantage of this amazing deal, then follow the link in the show notes today. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to another episode of the Female Founders podcast with me, Claire Bartlett. And today's episode is all me. There are no guests, it's just me. And I want to talk to you all about confidence. Now, this is one of the biggest pain points I know for new business owners and small business owners. It's learning to build that confidence in yourself, in your ability, in the work that you do, but also to present yourself and put yourself out there and become the face of your brand, and to get that visibility for yourselves that you truly deserve. So in today's episode, I want to give you some of the tried and tested tools that I've used in the past to build the confidence that I now have in myself. So to take you back a bit, when I first set up my business, my first step into business was nearly 10 years ago now. And at that point in my life, I had zero confidence in myself, sort of as a person, really, let alone as an entrepreneur. And taking that leap of faith into becoming self-employed was terrifying for me. And especially in the work that I was going to be doing meant that going regularly into new offices and work environments and working with, an array of new people constantly each week. And this was something that literally shook me to the core. Now, every time I had had a new job in the past, I would have physical reactions because of the nerves of going into that new office, that, the Sunday night dread of having to face all these new people and worry of what they would be thinking of me. I really, really struggled with these sorts of things back then. And so when I took that leap and went into self-employment, I had to really fake it until I made it. And every time I went into a new client meeting, I was filled with absolute dread that they would ask me a question that I couldn't answer, and then I would be, unveiled as a fraud, I suppose. And, such concern over what they would be thinking of me and feeling so judged about putting myself out there. And there was also the concern of what my friends and family would make of it, and whether they would be judging me and saying, God, I can't believe she thinks she can do this and that. So there was so much anxiety around that decision of becoming self-employed. But I knew that it was something that I had to try, and I knew that it was something that was the right decision for me and my family at that time. So I took the leap, and one of my most favorite sayings in life, and it really fits this point in my life, is feel the fear and do it anyway. And it really resonates with how I was feeling at that moment. I was absolutely petrified, but I knew I had to try this. I had to push myself and put myself out there. And so I did. And I've done so many things through those 10 years in business that have gradually helped me grow in confidence and believe in myself more and love myself more, and get to where I am today. So some of the things that I've used, you might laugh at, but I promise you, if you give them a go, they will work. There's a whole array of ideas in this episode for you tonight. But ultimately, in those early days where you do lack a bit of confidence, you have to sort of build yourself a bit of an armor. something that you can rely on that will help you in these situations where you might not be necessarily inside feeling that confident or that sure of yourself, but to the outside world, no one would ever tell. Some of the situations that I've been in through those years where internally I've been a mess, when I've spoken to people later on who were there, they had no idea of the internal turmoil that I was going through. Um, and so it just does go to show that so much of it is just in our minds and it's in our heads. And actually, nobody else can see that. And they're not judging us and they're genuinely there to wanting us to do well. And I think this is the thing that we so often forget. So, the first tip that I want to speak to you all about is to create yourself something called a pick me up pack. Now, I've coined that phrase. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but it 100% works. And in those early days of business, it really helped me on the days where I really wasn't feeling it or was about to do something that was really scary for the first time. And what this pack is you look through everything that you've done to that point and all the comments that you've received. If you've, helped someone, a client, and they've sent you a thank you message, or your friends have sent you, encouragement when you were first setting out, anything that made you feel really warm and fuzzy in that moment and felt really good to receive, put it all in one place. And whether that is a folder in your camera on your phone, whether it's a physical folder that you can keep on your desk, but just start collecting all of that really lovely feedback that you're getting, or a great picture of you doing something, anything that made you feel really good in that moment and strong and confident in what you were doing. Because on those tough days where you're about to go and do something that's really scary, and it might be that first new client meeting, or it might be about to walk on stage to speak in front of hundreds of people, which is when I last used it. It can be at any point, but you pick it up, you scroll through it, you read all of the lovely things that have been said about you in the past, and it just gives you that. I suppose it's like a virtual hug. It makes you feel okay. You know what you're doing is helping other people. You know you're on the right path, and you know that what you have to say matters and it is worthwhile sharing. And the key thing for me has always been that as long as I can help one person, just one person, make a difference for them, then I know that it's worthwhile and it's worth pushing through that fear to do so. So I have done some, like I said, some really crazy things. That's one of the easiest things that you can do, is just to create that pick me up pack that you can go to at any point, any time of the day. And if you do have it on your phone, then it's always with you. I've done some other slightly bigger, slightly crazier things that really help you with your confidence. And those can be things like doing a fire walk, or I've walked on broken glass. I've snapped an arrow with my neck, which that one really blew my mind. But all of these things, they sound a bit crazy and, you don't really think you're gonna get much out of it personally. But actually, the adrenaline that you get and the confidence that it gives you, that look what you've just done, that's crazy. How many people would never ever do that? They can really help you build confidence in yourself and also start to feel more comfortable in crazy situations. Fear never really goes away, and you can never 100% just feel at ease in these crazy situations. But what you can do is learn to deal with them and feel it and then understand it and move forward and get on with the task, and to just be more comfortable in putting yourself in those situations. So, for me, for doing some of those really crazy things that I've done, they've helped me when I've been asked then to speak on stage, or, recently I've been live on radio to 165,000 listeners, which blew my mind. So all of these things 10 years ago, I would never, ever have been able to achieve. But because I have constantly challenged myself and pushed myself and gradually increased the level of the challenges that I was putting myself through. So I don't know when it was now. I'm trying to think. Maybe 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, I went on the local radio station, which I don't know the audience numbers, but I imagine they're pretty small, potentially in the hundreds, maybe very low thousands. It's a really small local radio station. But the fear and the reaction that I had, heart pounding in my chest, sweaty palms. I had the physical reaction to that because it was completely new for me. I had no idea what I was walking into. Um, but another one of my mottos, and I really do live by this, is to say yes and then figure it out after. So every opportunity that has come my way, I always say yes, and then I freak out and figure out how on earth I'm going to do it. And the radio station back then was one of those things. I was asked to go on. I was being interviewed. I think it was just about local businesses. Um, and I was absolutely petrified. And I didn't really share with anyone that I was going to be on there because I didn't want it. Made it worse for me, actually, that people I knew might be listening, which is so strange. But yeah, I didn't really tell many people that I was doing it. And I went, and it probably wasn't that great. You can probably hear a bit of a shake in my voice, but I did it. And because I did that, and then I've gradually increased the levels of opportunities and situations I've put myself in, it's built itself to the point where I'm now speaking live to 165,000 people and not even batting an eyelid. I didn't have the heart palpitations. I didn't have the sweaty palms. But one of the reasons is because I didn't let myself think about the size of the audience in that moment, because I probably would have freaked out about it a bit. So actually, I just went in and treated it like I was just chatting to a friend, and I had a great time. And it just goes to show that actually you do just need to build up these situations. And that goes with so many things. So when you're building, especially an online presence, you need a whole register of assets, images of yourself, photos of yourself that you can use for your content on social media and your marketing, etc. When I first went into, the online space with my business, I didn't have any of those things. I had never been the type of person that would ever take a selfie of myself. Every single photo of me had a family member or a friend or someone else in the picture with me. And none of them were good enough really for what I needed them for. I knew I had to do something about it. I didn't have any confidence in front of the camera. I'd always been quite camera shy, the type of person that would always be at the back or hiding behind something or someone. And I knew that I had to change that if I wanted to my business to work in this online space. So I started just taking the odd selfie of me around the house. I would wait until my husband and my daughter were out and I had the house all to myself. And I would just set my phone up and just take loads of photos of myself in different positions, starting to learn what my best angle was, what the lighting was good or not, what looked absolutely horrific and what didn't look too bad. And I would delete all the ones then that I knew would, really were awful. And I would leave all the rest of them on my phone. I would do nothing with them. I would just leave them there. Because if I stared at them for too long, I would have judged them into the recycle bin. I would have picked them apart with all the tiny little things that you see on yourself that no one in the outside world notices. So instead of giving myself the time to do that, I very quickly just put my phone away and left them. And as I started to build this folder of all these pictures of myself, um, it gave me the confidence, okay, I can take a half decent picture. They're not so bad. And I kept telling myself, well, this is what the outside world see on a daily basis. This is what people see. So they won't notice any different if I share this picture. They won't be picking it apart. They won't notice that my hair is, slightly a mess that day, or this is just the real me. And it gradually over time gave me the confidence to start gradually sharing those photos on my online space. And of course, I didn't get any negative comments. I didn't get anyone saying, God, you shared that photo of yourself. Who took that? I can't believe you shared it. None of that, nothing at all. And I know that all of the negative talk that comes in any new situation, all the worry and the anxiety is always just because of me. It's only me that is ever going to hold myself back. And so because I now know that, and because I've done so many things that I know it's always okay on the other side, I can push through that noise in my head now and push through whatever situation it's in. So gradually I built up those assets, and I now have, I don't know if I haven't counted, but probably hundreds of photos on my phone and on my computer. I've had professional photo shoots for work. And that again is something that 10 years ago, I could not imagine myself with all of these fancy lights and cameras flashing at me and me just enjoying it and having a great day. I do think some of that is to do with the photographer, to be fair. I think if you are having a photo shoot, it's really important to connect with the photographer and feel comfortable in front of the lens. But the only way to do that, like I said, is to practice and take the odd photo of yourself when you get 5 minutes. Just start testing it out and starting to build a little bit of confidence in front of the camera. Another really fun thing that I've done a few times, and I tend to do this one when I'm just about to walk out on stage, is the power pose. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but if you imagine Superwoman standing there, with her fists on her hips, in that really strong pose, with the chin facing to the sky and the shoulders back and the chest out, it's such a powerful pose. I promise you, if you stand up now and do that pose, you will feel more powerful in yourself, 100%. And I can't remember where I think I might have seen it on a webinar or on a TV show or something, and I thought it sounded ridiculous. But I did it. I gave it a try anyway. And honestly, it just fills you with, if you just need a little bit of fake confidence in a moment where you're about to go and do something and you're really struggling, just do that pose just for a couple of minutes, even 30 seconds if that's all the time that you've got, and just breathe into it. Close your eyes and breathe into it, and I promise you, you will feel better. Um, but yeah, ultimately, confidence is something that you can only get with time. You can't take a magic pill and wake up the next day and be uber confident. You have to take baby steps and push yourself a little bit further out of that comfort zone each time, until suddenly what you were scared of feels like nothing at all anymore, and you're in with the bigger fish, and your confidence levels have grown. I don't think anyone can ever be completely and utterly confident in every situation in life, because until you've done something, you can't be 100% confident in it. So, in those early days, the really small things like just going to a new client meeting or walking into a new client's office for the first time used to fill me with dread. Now I can walk on stage in front of hundreds of people, um, and be okay with that, because I've gone through the process and I've pushed myself and done challenge after challenge. And the biggest thing is about just accepting those challenges and then working out, like I said, working out the rest later. And the thing that helped me with that the most was the 5 second rule by Mel Robbins, I believe it is. And she, there's a whole book on it. There's a whole following on this ethos of life, and I found it really beneficial. But basically, you make a snap decision. All day, every day, we are making incredibly quick decisions in within 5 seconds about everything. And it's just becoming consciously aware of those decisions that we make. So if somebody asked you to go on the radio, for instance, you basically have 5 seconds to make that decision, whether you're going to say yes or you're going to say no. And most of the time, if you have never done a situation like that before and you are still struggling with confidence a little bit, you would instantly jump and just say, no, no, thank you, that's not for me. But if you become conscious of the decision making process, which she teaches you how to do in the book, and you count down from 5 as if, rocket taking off, and you go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you just say yes, just throw it out there into the universe. Yes, yes, I'll do it. And then as soon as you've said it, you probably will feel dread and fear and, oh my God, I can't believe I've just accepted that. Oh my God, how am I going to do that? I can't believe I've just said yes to that. All of this goes through your head, I promise you. But then you take a step back and you think, okay, well, I've said yes now and I can't back out. So how am I going to make this work? And you use the other things that I've spoken about. You've got your pick me up pack, you can do the power pose, you are more comfortable in front of the camera or just speaking to people. And this builds a level of confidence that means that you know that you can handle any situation, and you just keep pushing to the next slightly bigger opportunity for yourself. So I started, I think this is probably about 7 years ago now, a local networking group for women in business. And it meant that I had to lead the group, lead the sessions. They were in person sessions. And I will never, ever forget the first session. I had never been somebody who would speak in public. I would get nervous just speaking up when I was with 5 of my friends. Like, I was a really nervous person. And I suddenly complete strangers, I think there was about 10 women there, 10 came to the first event, and I had to stand up in front of 10 complete strangers and introduce myself and talk about this group and run the event. And I had possibly one of the strongest physical reactions that I've ever had. I was out of breath because, I don't know, then just I felt so nervous that I couldn't even breathe properly. My legs were shaking, I was sweating all over. Honestly awful, like, it's burnt into my brain how nervous I was in that situation. I will never, ever forget it. And I'm still in contact with some of the women that were in that room that day. Some of them are still clients of mine, turned out amazingly, but, it was a real push for me to do that day. But I asked them, a few months or a year down the line when, "Oh god, do you remember how nervous I was?" None of them picked up on the level of nerves. They said, "Yeah, we could tell your voice is a bit shaky." But they had no idea of exactly the state that I was in internally. And it does just go to show that there is a huge battle that goes on internally, and only a tiny proportion, if anything, is actually visible to the outside world. But because I mean, that really, I think, probably was the hardest thing that I've forced myself to do in the whole journey. And then once I'd done that first one, the next one, although was still very nerve wracking, wasn't quite as bad. And I think I ran them for about 12 to 18 months, one a month. And by the end of it, it was no bother at all to me. Most of them were sort of regulars, so I knew them. That made me feel a little bit more comfortable. But I was confident in what I was talking about. I knew how to run the meeting. I learned so many skills from doing that really terrifying situation from running those meetings. And that's taken me through business into so many other different areas of business now. It's helped me. And this is the thing that although you talk about building confidence and it's, from a putting yourself out there perspective, or oh, I'm wanting to build more of a brand online, I want my face out there, I want to do more podcasts or public speaking. But actually, once you have that confidence, it benefits your business on a 360 degree. It helps every single area of your business because you're more confident in asking for the money that you deserve. You're more confident in speaking to potential clients, winning new business, employing staff, managing staff. There's so many areas of business that confidence really does play a big part. And you have to go through that process and take those baby steps to get there. So I would absolutely love to know what really terrifying things that you've put yourself forward for, that you've succeeded in, how you felt after them. Because every time you do it, the next time is a little bit less scary. And if you just keep pushing forward, you will get the level of confidence that you desire to have. And it will show and you will shine online and it will be amazing. And I cannot wait to hear how you get on using the tips I've shared today, and yeah, what difference that will make for you. But thank you so much for listening today. Confidence is a huge topic for me and something I'm really passionate about helping small business owners build because it, like I said, it just transforms the whole business. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed sharing these tips with you today, and I am so excited to be with you again next week. So have a great week, everyone, and I'll speak to you next time. Take care.